Hello friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Lupe and I aspire to inspire and share what has worked for me and why it's so important to work on our mindset. And for today's episode, we're talking about shifting to a prosperous mindset or a prosperity mindset. So, I had very humble beginnings as a kid. So being prosperous or having a prosperity mindset was not my default. However, by certain things that I've been learning for the past couple of years, it's really shifted my mindset into having more of a prosperous mindset. But mind you, since for so long, prosperity was not my default set point, it is taking some work. It takes some time, but it's so worth it. One thing I want to talk to you about today, like I'm jumping right in it. One thing I want to talk to you about today is how to shift from wherever you are to a more prosperous mindset, because everything starts in the mind. A lot of our beliefs that we learn as kids that our well-meaning parents or caretakers, whoever it was, or older siblings, whoever we had around, even the TV and radio sometimes. Certain things that are disempowering, for instance, are, we can't afford that. Do you have your own money? How about, money doesn't grow on trees. What do you think I am, an ATM? Like, stop to think, have you ever heard of these sayings that are so disempowering? I want to bet that you have. I heard them a lot. I heard them in Spanish a lot. And I also heard them in English. So that's a double whammy. Anyway, one thing that I do want to share is that your results will affect your life. So it's so worth it. Any up-leveling of your money blueprint is so important because it will show up in your entire life. And there are seminars, there's webinars, there's online courses, there's books, there's audiobooks, there's tapes, there's YouTube stuff, it's everywhere. If you have the intention to look for it, because when you look for it, it shows up. I don't know if you've ever heard that when the student is ready, the teacher will show up. And it's so true. Oh my God, it's happened to me so many times. It's so cool. So anyway, I keep looking over here because I have this amazing book that I want to share with you, and I encourage everyone to get it. Yes, it's kind of a thicker book, but it's such a good read. And I actually would listen to a lot of these teachings on YouTube, and I never knew. Like I started reprogramming my mind for wealth and abundance and prosperity, and for more money to flow into my life. Unknowingly, years later, my coach, which I am paying a fee for, ends up telling me about Catherine Ponder. And I was like, wait a minute, why does that name sound so familiar? Once I started getting into the book, I was like, wait a minute, I know who that is. I used to listen to her on YouTube for free. And here I am years later down the road paying somebody to tell me about a book that has the teachings that I was already listening to, but I had stopped listening to. So the universe somehow got me this copy of the book through my coach, of course. He's amazing. Anyway, it's called The Dynamic Laws of Prosperity, and like I said, it's by Catherine Ponder, but this is a special edition that was reprinted with a special chapter that I want to share about. So, if you get this book, that's great, but make sure you get the reprinted, I think it was reprinted in I'm gonna have to get the year correctly. I think it was, so this is the 16th printing in 2018, but the copyright was transferred in 1984. That's really important that you get the 1984 copy transfer reprint, because this is the only book with chapter 10. So, one thing I want to share about what's so important about chapter 10 is because, this chapter changed my life. I started to use this and I started seeing almost immediate change. I was already doing some other things and using Feng Shui, and I was starting to use Feng Shui, and I was starting to do a lot of clearing and things. But once I started to use this power of tithing, my life changed. Okay, so let me tell you what it is. So chapter 10 is all about tithing. And what tithing is when you give deliberately, choose to give 10% of your wages, or say you only have $1 left to your name, guess what? 10% is 10 cents of that $1. So 1/10 of your income, of your gross, or before or after taxes, it doesn't matter. Obviously, when you're ready to give more, you can. But say you get an allowance of some kind and you only get $100 per month. Well, guess what? Tithing is $10 of that $100. It may seem like, Loops, what's going on? Like, you're crazy. I'm not going to give $10 out of my $100. Why not? If it will produce more income into your bank account, into your life, and almost work instantly, why wouldn't you try it? Anyway, I've been doing this. I've been tithing for close to a year, over a year. And my finances have drastically changed. And also, I get a lot of gifts, and I find money on the floor all the time. It's awesome. And also, I get checks in the mail that I didn't expect, and just cool stuff like that. Anyway, I wouldn't leave it to chance. If you're skeptical, try it. That's all I have to say. Anyway, in chapter 10, she gives details, Catherine Ponder gives details of who to tithe to. Say, a lot of people, I knew about tithing, but not in its entirety, because my mom would always take us to church, and so you always give an offering. But I didn't know that you're supposed to give a tenth. And sometimes we would give $5, sometimes $1, sometimes $20. But let's get real, it wasn't usually $20. And then when I was an adult and I was going to church on my own, I would always give basically whatever was in my wallet. If I had a 20, I would give a 20. I was not stingy, but I usually had ones and fives, and I didn't plan it ahead of time. I never had an envelope prepared because I didn't know the principle of tithing. So fast forward, I no longer go to church, but I am highly spiritual, and I now tithe to somebody who brings a lot of spiritual teachings to me, that is enthusiastic about what she teaches, and she is a source of encouragement, and she's taught me a lot of other techniques about prosperity and spirituality. So that's who I tithe to, and I do give 1/10 of my income. Also, I have gotten unexpected checks and other large sums of money, and I even tithe on that. Also, when I started to make more money in my business, I started to tithe on my business. And out of nowhere, like, someone will buy something else for me from my business. And so I know this stuff works. And if you think like, whatever, like that's just by chance, well, are you gonna leave your prosperity up to chance? I'm not. So anyway, I'm gonna make another series about prosperity, but I didn't want to take up so much of your precious time this time around by just mentioning this. I'm hoping that you go get the book from Catherine Ponder. I bought it on Amazon. It must have been about $20, but you could probably find it at Barnes and Noble or wherever else you buy books. And I think that she gives so many like stories. Like, this was originally written in the 50s and 60s, but everything applies. Everything that she would talk about before applies. Like, also, she shares how to use affirmations for prosperity and how not to use affirmations for prosperity. So anyway, stay tuned, and I want to share so much more about prosperity, abundance, money, affirmations, and so much more. So stay tuned, and I'll see you next time. Hit the little like, hit the little subscribe button and the little bell so you can get a notification when I do make a video next. So stay tuned, and I'll see you next time. Bye.